Hi everybody, I'm back with another debut feature tip. This is tip number 2, and this is one that's pretty close to my heart because after I finished my first feature, I was buzzing on this creative high from working with great actors. Now I know on an indie project you're pretty bound by who you know or who you can afford, and it's really hard to find great actors because there are so many actors out there. Everyone wants to be an actor. Don't get me wrong, there are hundreds of great actors out there waiting to be discovered and very willing to work with you, but it is a luck of the draw, especially when you're working with a very limited budget. So I'm going back to Twitter, where a couple of years ago I wrote all my 30 debut feature tips, and this is tip number 2, all about actors. Don't settle until you find great actors. They're out there. They won't need to be directed as much, just guided. Now, I know you're not a tour guide, you're a director, so you're not there to guide the actors necessarily, but when you have really great actors, they don't need directing. And it's not a bad thing to be a director and not be directing every little detail in the movie, including the acting. Your job as director is to make sure the big picture is working and everything can gel together if you're trusting in your people, and especially if you're trusting in your actors. When the actors are really passionate about their roles and when they delve into it and research, and when they really love the movie and love the project and believe in the creative vision of your idea, they are going to support you and they're going to know the character probably better than you do. They're going to find things in there that you hadn't even thought of. And you need to trust that and embrace that and work with that. Because you may have an image in your head of exactly what you want the actors to do, but I think that's the wrong way to go about it. You can't plan everything in your movie. You can't plan down to the minute moments. You have to allow for them and create an environment where your actors and all of your creative team can flourish. I was lucky enough to have a really strong cast of leads in the movie. We've got Dan Moore, Alicia Rose, Mark Redpath, and Chris Kirby. I'm going to start with Dan Moore. Dan was a diamond in the rough. He was very much someone that I wasn't looking for. I wasn't aware that I was looking for. I wrote Kai as your typical sort of white bread male hero because that's what every hero is in science fiction films. When you got a mercenary, they're usually a white dude, and that's kind of a bad thing. It's kind of what we're trying to move away from, and this was a great opportunity for me to say, you know what? Let's expand the scope, let's broaden the horizon. I actually did cast a white dude and he was pretty good. He was going to be great as Kai, but he had to pull out a month before we shot. So all of a sudden we were scrambling to recast the role, and Dan's face came across my desk. Not that I had a desk. And I said, I don't know if this is the guy. He's done a lot of criminal roles. He's always playing a gangster. He was in this Australian crime show called Underbelly, and I thought, I just can't picture him as this guy that I've been thinking about for 3 or 4 years as I wrote the movie. So I let him audition, and I was very skeptical, and everyone else was really interested in his look, but I was probably the least open to it. But then as soon as he started speaking on this audition tape, I just could not look away, and a lot of us in the room felt the same way. Everyone turned to me and said, you have to go with this guy. This guy is Kai. And the moment I called Dan and told him that, he was so happy because he told me he'd read the script 3 or 4 times, and I couldn't believe it. But after knowing him throughout the course of shooting the movie and realizing how much he knew this role so well, I actually do believe that he read it 3 or 4 times before we spoke. He really wanted to do the movie way more so than anybody else, and that was incredibly valuable because when you're in the thick of it and when things are really rough and when the actors are sweating and there's flies all over their faces and it's just hell on earth really out there in the desert, or even in the comfort of a studio if you have that luxury, things are gonna get tough and you need your actors to really believe in the role so they're not just seeing it as a job. I was able to sit back at the monitor, watch Dan doing his work, and just really enjoying watching the movie unfold. I didn't have to tell him that much. And I think if I had an actor who didn't understand the role or who was a bit less experienced, I wouldn't have been able to enjoy the experience as much. I wouldn't have been able to watch because I would have constantly been struggling with fine-tuning the performance. The performance is not yours as a director, it's the actors. They need to take ownership over it, and you need to allow them to do that. The role of Taron was really hard to cast. It came down to 2 people, and it really is heartbreaking having to let an actor go and say you're not the one, because in reality they would have been amazing. If they get down to number 2, if they get down to 1 and 2, they both would have been great, but you kind of have to just choose one, as sad as that is. And we went with Alicia, and I'm so happy with her performance. She was so natural, and she'd only done kids TV. She'd done a lot of these similar kids TV roles, and she was always this happy, bubbly person. And that's kind of what I wanted in Taron. I wanted this sort of bright human spirit to show a new side of humanity to Kai's character. But at the same time, I needed her to be natural. And that's exactly what I said about Alicia the first day we started working together, that wow, she's really natural. And I was extremely happy that I could just rely on her for the rest of the shoot to nail her lines and understand the mood and the tone of the character. Mark Redpath was someone that I've worked with before and I've worked with since. He's the lead role in Quanta and he plays the bad guy Hatch in Arrowhead, and he's really, really good. He's one of those guys that I met early in my career doing short films, and he was so supportive back then. I think it's really important to take these people with you as you go, as you move ahead. Try and find ways to bring them along. I'm so glad I did it with Mark. I didn't do it as a favor. I did it because Mark was a really strong actor. He was a really subtle performer. So don't be afraid to use people that are from within your own team or people that you know really well, as long as you are really honest with yourself and you're casting them for the right reasons, not just to do them a favor or to throw them a bone. Because you could have a great friend who's not the best actor and bring them on from the right, and it really is gonna affect your project badly. Chris Kirby had a short but really sweet role, and he brought so much to the table. He brought so much gusto and so much screen presence. He's someone that's been in The Matrix and he's been in Star Wars in small roles, and I knew him through a friend of mine. He's actually my friend's uncle. The night he had to go crazy on Kai and kind of scream and yell in the middle of nowhere in the desert under the moonlight, our crew was just so engaged with that, and it just reminded me, I'm so glad that I found these strong actors, because I don't want to be dealing with all these elements, dealing with all this heartache and dealing with scrapping shots left, right and center, and then have to deal with trying to get the actors to do the right thing or trying to hone actors' performances. No, I was so happy that I could rely on my actors to nail it every time and guide them. That's something I wrote in my tweet, that you don't want to direct them, you want to guide them. It's a real luxury to be able to do that, because you can have a conversation with them. It just becomes a conversation about the character. You're not saying, hey, look there and then frown and then look over there and then smile. It's just, that's such a bad way to direct anyway. But I've directed so many little commercials where you're using people who aren't actors and you kind of do have to shape them with physical instructions. You don't want to be doing that on a feature film. You want to be working with actors who really understand how to interpret a character onto the screen in ways that you didn't even think of. And if something's not working, just have a chat about it. They're actors, they're intelligent. Ideally, they know how to interpret things in multiple ways. So just have a chat. This whole industry, this whole thing is just people working together for a creative vision. So don't be afraid to just talk to your actors like a normal person. It is hard sometimes. You think, I'm a director, I should be directing and I should be giving them these little quips that I may have heard on a quote on the back of a coffee mug that has Martin Scorsese's face on it. But no, be yourself, be relatable, talk through what you're looking for, and if you find those strong actors, then you'll be good to go for the whole shoot. The key part of this tweet is don't settle until you find good actors. Don't settle. It's easy to say, look, we need somebody now, so let's just cast whoever's available, but no, wait. Say no to people, as hard as that is. Don't cast the wrong person. Wait for the right person. They don't have to be famous, they just have to be a strong actor. These people do exist. There's a lot of strong actors and a lot of creative talent. I mean, the Australian industry is exporting actors all the time because the talent here is really strong. But I'm not just talking to Aussies, by the way, I'm talking to anybody around the world making films. Wait to find the right people, because they do exist. In Australia, we have a service called Starnow. I'm gonna expand on this a little bit in a further vlog episode, because Starnow is a great resource that I've found at this level. If you can't afford to hire a casting agent or go to a casting agency and ask who they've got on their books, then Starnow is an awesome resource for going on, finding people. Anyone can put up a profile, so that's kind of a good and bad thing, because there's a lot of people on there who are like, yeah, I could do that. I got an interesting face, I could be on screen. And they're not exactly the people that you want to go with. You have to be honest with yourself and be true to the story you're chasing, and only cast people from Starnow if you know they're right for the role. There are great people on Starnow though. The fact that it's wide open and anybody can do it makes it a bit of a mixed bag, but I've cast so many things: TV commercials, music videos, 2 feature films. I'm constantly looking for people, and if you look really hard and you're patient with your casting process, you can definitely wait it out and find those diamonds in the rough. What's your casting experience been like? Have you struggled to find good actors? Have you been cast in something as an actor and had a great experience working with a director? What are the things you guys like from both sides, both as an actor or a director? It's such a key on-set relationship. Everything kind of revolves around that. So I'd love to hear some of your stories as well. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Debut feature tip 3 is coming right up as soon as I get the chance. And please subscribe. I know it's annoying, but it is growing for me. It gives me a reason to keep going. If I know you guys are really enjoying the content, hit that subscribe button. It would really help knowing that my audience is appreciating these war stories, because I definitely would have loved to hear some of these stories as I pursued my first feature. It would have been really helpful to me, so I'm hoping very much so that it's helpful for you. Thanks guys, see you next time.